Hello and welcome to yet another edition of One on One. This is the program in which everything is considered. Today I'm talking politics with Nico Kaiyamo, the former councillor of the Tsumeb constituency and also a former member of parliament of the National Council. Very good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for welcoming me.
You're the first regional councillor of the Tsumeb constituency. You served from 1992 up to 2003, and then you left parliament because during that time you represented your region in parliament. My question to you is, when you took that decision to resign from your job to take on business interest, many people questioned that. Could you be frank and tell me the real decision, the makings of that decision?
Yes, let me put it this way. When I was in parliament, I stood on my principle and integrity in whatever contributions I've made. Now, in politics, it's not easy to have somebody with principles and integrity. Either you swim along or you drown. Now, when I reached that stage in 2003, I've come to a stage where I had a choice to give away my principles and sing along. I was not prepared to do that and decided in order to keep my principle in integrity, I must quit active politics.
During that time, obviously 2003, 2002, we've just seen maybe the change in the leadership of this country with the Prime Minister, for example, being demoted at that time. Did that play in your mind, or what was the real decision there?
1997, when Dr. Hake stood against the then Vice President, Comrade Hendrik Witbooi, may his soul rest in peace, I was campaigning for him because I was convinced Dr. Hake had the qualities that we were looking into somebody to be the Vice President of the party. When Dr. Hake Kaiyamo was demoted, as a friend, obviously, I stood by him, probably one of the few, if not the only one.
Reassigned to a new role, really demoted.
Yeah, we can play with word. I stood by him because as a friend is when you need. Now, when I resigned, Dr. Hake was already a year or two out of government. There was an accusation that Dr. Hake has gone to COD. My name was dragged in. Kaiyamo is also COD. Because of all those things, I was linked. But my decision has nothing to do with Hake at all. It has to do with my own conscience and my own.
Mm-hmm. So you took that decision on your own volition without anybody pushing you, but you saw that the writing was on the wall, people were questioning your allegiance to the party, and therefore you had to take a back seat.
Not allegiance, there were a lot of issues. Number one, people were obvious, my name was always linked to Dr. Hake Kaiyamo. People were trying to get me out. 1998, I was nominated to stood against Kandindi Manehova, the then chairman, during our second term. Because people were tired. I was made clear to me that you can never become the chairman of the National Council. I have to withdraw because I didn't wanted my name to be dragged into. 1998, again, people wanted to get me out because they called me the Hake boy. So there were a lot of issues that I was made to suffer, but it didn't bother me. But my principle was I'm doing what I'm convinced of and I know is right.
Do you think that in hindsight, perhaps you were just too eager to protect this integrity? I mean, everybody knows that politics is a dirty game. Somehow you get your hands dirty at some point. Were you too naive to understand that the dynamics of politics at the time?
I was naive? No, I was not naive. I was just led by my conscience. Because when you are in, yes, politics is a dirty game. You play along or you don't play along. And if it gets hot in the kitchen, you get out. But I was not prepared because it's a dirty game to let go my principles. If you go to the Hansard, my contributions are clear. They were based on principles and they were consciously led by the will and the wishes of the majority. Now, because of my outspokenness and my integrity, it was difficult for people to take that you can differ politically and still be in the same boat. Now, it was difficult for a lot of people, but I was not prepared to succumb to give into my principles. And if that was difficult for people and they thought I was naive, let it be.
So you retreated to Tsumeb. Lo and behold, 2 years ago, you are in trouble again with the leadership, the local leadership there of the SWAPO party. Are you just a troublemaker?
You know, playing with words, I think it's nobody's monopoly. We can play with words. The mere fact that I'm still the same person, just tell one thing, that this guy is not prepared to be pushed around for anything else. I left politics, active politics. When the time came, people through the structures wanted me again because it seems they were missing that political knowledge, that wisdom, that what I have got in me, probably not in others. And they brought me back. 2007, I was nominated as a CHUMEP candidate to the Central Committee. Now, all these, I wish people can tell me what are they seeing in this that others don't see in me.
This is the reason why people say that you are a troublemaker. I mean, shortly before, in 2010, we had the regional and local authority elections. There was the Ratepayers Association that was started, or that was visible in your town. And there were a lot of anger and concerns about how the municipality, the local authority, was handling matters there. You got involved there, got your hands dirty again. There goes the troublemaker, Nico Kaiyamo.
Dirty not. I will want anybody today to tell me which provision of the Namibian Constitution I have transgressed. Then we can talk. The ratepayers has been there since independence. It has engaged the local councillors that was predominantly Swabo since independence. And for me to engage it, it was on my own term. The Constitution gives us that provision. So if anybody can tell me, yes, this is the provision that you have transgressed, then we can talk. Otherwise, they can continue with their wishful thinking and hope.
No, but let's just talk about the ethics of it. I mean, here is an association that wants to directly compete with your party. They also want to win seats on the council. They also want elected office. And you are feathering their agenda.
Totally wrong. Totally wrong. The ratepayers of, yes, we have got ratepayers all over Namibia that has partake in elections. Because of others, you cannot blame the next one. The ratepayers of CHUMEP is a non-political, it's a civic organization. If it's wrong to belong to the ratepayers, then it must be wrong to belong to the unions, to the farmers union, to the teachers. You can mention them. It is a civic pressure group that belongs to owners who owns property in CHUMEP. If they want to speak up against the municipality, and anybody in his wishful thinking want to turn up in position to the municipality or want to take in part, it's there. But it has never partaken unless somebody can show me that it was registered at the Electoral Commission. It was going. It was just a pressure group of people who own properties. And for people...
Pressurizing who?
The local authority that we elected in CHUMEP. The local authority that we elected.
But you must be mindful, Mr. Kaiyamo, that you were part and parcel of those elected officials. These are your comrades in your party, and you belong to this district executive committee, for example, of the CHUMEP area or district area. These are people that were your own comrades. How do you fight against them? How do you pressure them?
But unfortunately, is where we go wrong. We must learn to separate things. I, Nico Kaiyamo, as a resident of the town of CHUMEP, have got the full right to partake in whatever. Nothing to do. The local authority, once it's elected, it belongs to the people of CHUMEP, that belongs to me, that include everybody. Now, these were owners talking to people that they've elected that were messing up. And by talking to that, if people are saying it's nothing to do with party, and this is where I even saying it's
but these are elected officials. If they are messing up, they are also structures of the party that you could take them on.
Unfortunately, this will not be the right platform to take party politic issues. At the party level, they could have taken it up, but as a resident of CHUMEP, it must be understood, as a resident, I've got the full right to take part in the affairs of the running of our town. I was not part. The Constitution was sent to me. And if it was sent to me and I forwarded to my comrades, if somebody is saying that is belonging to them, then probably we must reinvent a new dictionary, because that is exactly not what has happened.
Mm-hmm. I'm sitting down tonight with Nico Kaiyamo, who was recently reinstated by the SWAPO party. Obviously, we'll get to talk about that more in length after this short break. sitting down with former Member of Parliament, Nico Kaiyamo. Mr. Kaiyamo, just before we took this break, we were talking about the Ratepayers Association and how that got you into trouble with the local leadership of your party. You were subsequently suspended by the regional structure there, and you were not very happy with that. But at the same time, you also heard that the regional coordinator, Armaz Amkuyu, the town mayor at the same time, Engel Navatisep, and yourself were embroiled in more personal deals over land, squabbles, and so on. So people were seeing this and saying, which is which? Is it the Ratepayers Association, or is it Mr. Nico Kaiyamo and Mr. Navatisep and Mr. Armaz Amkuyu disagreeing on land?
I think people must get it. As a resident of the town, I'm a law-abiding citizen of this country. I wrote a letter to the municipality as a custodian of the land in Tsumeb, saw a business opportunity, saw a plot, and I asked whether I can get this plot through the procedures. I wrote a letter. I'm waiting for the response. The next thing is I'm hearing the same plot, the same concept has been given to then the mayor and his business partner. And I went to inquire. They could not give me an answer at all. What must I do? Namibia is governed, it's a country of rule of law. I went to the ACC, they investigated. I was vindicated. The Tsumeb municipality was found to be wrong to have allocated that piece of land to the others and denying me the same right. Now, if that is being termed as personal, I cannot help it to stop people imagine things and say things the way they want to hear them.
Do you think it's coincidence that that mere issue was playing itself out at the same time that this ratepayers issue came up, that you had to be suspended later on? Do you think that perhaps your comrades acted in such a way that these two issues were kind of linked?
Not really linked. When you have got people in position of trust and power that misuse them, I will literally use the word rape them, then these kind of things cannot be a coincidence, it's planned. The ACC vindicated me. The ratepayers was hijacked for me by forwarding the constitution. And there are laws, they could have just followed the procedures. Now, because those in power of position that were busy with self-enrichment, corrupt deals you can mention in the municipality that I've been fighting as a lonely voice in Tsumeb. When these things were sent to me is because those who believe me in Tsumeb thought, why don't we draw him in the existing and then use it as a platform? Now, when the others pick it up, obviously they make politics out of it, knowing that I have nothing to fear, my conscience is clear, I was suspended. I waited my fate because I knew one day, even if it takes one day, the truth will come out. Now, eventually the truth is here.
But the truth is not here. You are alleging serious corruption over the years in Tsumeb. We have not seen anybody being arrested by the ACC except just vindicating you and exonerating yourself.
Unfortunately, I must say this on air. I've got my serious doubt about the effectiveness of the anti-corruption, in the sense that when you hear the cases that they are taking on, it's petty small fishes. They have been unfortunately handling Tsumeb municipality with gloves on their hand. I will report this. They have been handling Tsumeb municipality with gloves on their hand. I am prepared, as I sit here today, now that my suspension is lifted, I am prepared to put money forward for a forensic audit in the Tsumeb municipality. I'm sure I will be proven right that, yes, there are underhand dealings of corruptions, self-enrichments, you can name them, going on in the municipality.
Involving your own comrades?
Involving the elected leaders in the Tsumeb municipality. Whether they are comrades or not comrades is irrelevant for me. They are human beings. They are elected. If you want to term them comrades, it's none of my part. The elected leaders in the Tsumeb municipality, the previous ones and the current ones, some of them, not all of them, please, they are involved.
Is this a red herring, or do you have serious evidence? Because it's one thing to sit on this platform and allege that there is serious widespread corruption, but it's another to prove it altogether.
If those who are entrusted with investigating corruption can come to me, I will give them evidence, hardcore evidence. that I'm prepared to present to any venue, any court of law. What I'm saying is things that I will not say on this platform anywhere. I will prepare to repeat and say it and stand by them.
Are you very bitter? Because you sound very bitter when you say something like that. I will expose these people. It sounds to me that this suspension by the regional structures has actually done more to just spoil this innocence of this young man that we saw in Parliament in the 90s, that you are more bitter now, that you want some revenge.
The way we were brought up, I think revenge probably will not fit to describe me. I was suspended when I was already on course of addressing some of these issues, what I'm saying. Why people only concentrate on the suspension, I don't know. I am not. If I was bitter, I would have not spoken to those who caused my suspension during my time that I was suspended. All what I'm saying is Namibia has got laws, and one of the laws is clarion call, we must fight corruptions wherever it happens and by whom. This I've been doing, this I will continue doing. And if this is bitter, I'm sorry. People can think what they want to do. I've been doing all these kind of issues. I will continue to do it because corruptions, Tsumeb municipality, unfortunately, without being accused of being bitter, service delivery have reached a lower point. And we are not prepared to pay our money, and we don't get good service in return. Leaders that we elected must take account. If not, I, for example, I don't want to use others. I, for example, will continue to speak out against all these evils, whether they happen in the municipality or any other institution.
But it's very disingenuous of you to want a property from the Tsumeb municipality or want this, and in return you don't get it, and all of a sudden shout that there is corruption. It sounds to me that your business interests also, they are overriding your concerns here, that perhaps just because you are disadvantaged, you cannot get ahead in the business world, therefore let's shout that there is corruption.
I think probably you must follow the sequences. The issue of the land at hand, that eventually it was not given to anybody, the municipality have taken it back. It just came when the machine was on. It was not the start. I think people probably, it's not the start of all evils, if you want to term it. Things were already on. In my own way, I was addressing all these issues. And this came, and people just used it as a spark to ignite the fire around the bush, which is not true. Things were going on. I had addressed corruption since I was a member of parliament. I addressed a lot of issues for people to just try and make it as personal. I would have just go and grab, but the mere fact that I follow the procedures to apply for this land must tell a lot of things that these guys, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm about to do things by law. And if corruption must be fought, I will fight it with the law on my side.
Let's talk about the structure that suspended you and the people that made up this structure, and also the mere fact that you had refused to submit yourself to the disciplinary process. And 2 years later, we now hear that the SWAPO Politburo decided that you must distance yourself from the Ratepayers Association. That was the condition on which your suspension had to be lifted. Give me an insight into why you refused to submit yourself to that disciplinary process.
Number one, maybe just a correction. I still want to see where was it said that I have to distance myself. All what we hear was on the media. I want somebody to give me a letter and say, this letter demanded from you to distance from yourself. All what we are hearing, it was on news. One. Now, the SWAPO party is supposed to be above all of us and to be supreme. We must all be subjected to it without applying the animal farm syndrome. SWAPO has got procedures when somebody has transgressed. Now, if people thought I have transgressed by belonging to these ratepayers, there are procedures that were supposed to be followed to lead to my suspension. Those procedures were aborted, were raped, because people were eager to get rid of this troublemaker, as they said. The Tsumeb district never recommended for my suspension. The regional exco that took decision never give me a chance that is a requirement. You must call the person to hear his or her side in order to suspend him. It was never done. The next thing, I must give a letter that set out why I'm suspended. It was never done. But because I was a loyal, committed cadre, I let that process go. But when the disciplinary hearing came, I objected. Because the same people that suspended me were the same people sitting on the committee. I was looking for justice and for fairness. So I objected to the composition and I refused to appear before the committee.
Do you think that you are vindicated right now? Do you feel vindicated by not submitting yourself to this disciplinary process, or you are just being a rebel?
Rebel? No, I am vindicated. I've maintained my innocence from day one. I've maintained my innocence, and I was prepared to protest my innocence. The investigation, I have not been given the reason, the outcome of the investigation. The mere fact that those reasons were kept away from me, there was nothing that they could investigate it. The mere fact that I have been, suspension been lifted, yes, I'm vindicated. That is not true. I didn't belong to the Ratepayers Association. It was a fabrication of few people who, when they see Kaiyamo, they see this troublemaker.
Have you forgiven them?
I've long ago forgiven them. I am prepared to let the past take care of itself.
Have you necessarily forgiven them? Because there's one of the claims that you have forgiven them because you necessarily support the same candidate for the vice presidency of the party. So therefore...
I will not forget, but I will forgive them. I don't know why people, I have made it clear that my support for Hage Geingob is not negotiable. Anything who wants to link it to anybody else is at your own risk. Yes, Armas is supporting Dr. Hage Geingob, and if that is a crime, I'm pleased with it. But to make it, why I'm saying it's not true, I was suspended while we were all supposed to support the same candidate. So it doesn't hold to water to say it's because of the same candidate.
All right. What is the future like for Nico Kaiyamo? We'll be discussing that last after this. I'm talking to former parliamentarian Nico Kaiyamo. As we round up our discussion tonight, I would want to hear more from you now. What is next for you? This 2 years probably derailed your political career because you were serving an elected office in the district executive of your district area. Did that necessarily put the brakes on this train of Nico Kaiyamo?
Not at all. When I left active politics in 2003, I went to pursue business interest. The suspension came while I was pursuing my business interests. A decade later, I can proudly look back that I don't regret I have taken this route. Business is thriving. What I have sought, I'm reaping triple now. Now it was the time for me to come back to active politics. Yes, it has derailed that process in the sense that now the aeroplane is taken off without me, and it means I have to wait until 2017 unless something in between happens. But I will still remain an active member of the SWAPO party in the Chumi district and make my contribution, whatever position or no position. Business-wise, I've cemented. I've been 10 years, a decade now in business, and I'm happy with what I have achieved. As a family man, as a community activist, as a businessman, and as a passionate politician.
Just the timing of your return into active politics. Some people might think, were you promised anything?
By whom? By whom?
The powers that be. That if you return into active politics, perhaps this is the route. This is the sort of ministerial position or ambassadorial appointment that we'll want you to get.
Right now, we have got a government that is led by Comrade President Ngifuke Pohamba that will end in 2014. No such promise was made, whether now by the current presidential hopefuls or not. I've always believed I've got a contribution to make, and if it comes because of the qualities that I possess, not because of the friendship line that has got with anybody.
This is what you said at our 20th anniversary when we celebrated. You said intolerance, unfortunately, is still evident when it comes to politics. Namibians still have to accept or come to terms that people can differ politically and still be able to live together as brothers and sisters, neighbors, political opponents, not enemies. There's a quote, a direct quote from what you said at that time. My question to you is, there is a lot of that intolerance. You had to get out because the kitchen was very hot. So why are you getting back into politics at this time, if it's still that hot?
I think we are talking of two different things. Active politics is occupying public office. That one I've let go 2003. Some of us have contributed and suffered for the liberation of this struggle. And it will be a sad story if I have to stand back and see other people giving to the dogs that we have gained into the 20 years independence. I am not prepared to let other people determine my political future. I'm not prepared to let people damage what we have been achieved so far. Those going against the gains of these liberation struggles, I will fight them, whether as a businessman.
Who are those ghosts?
As a politician.
Who are those going against that freedom?
It's people who think Namibia owns them more than anybody else. People who don't know that this country was liberated for each and every Namibian to enjoy the rights and freedom as enshrined in the party constitution. People who think others are in SWAPO because of them. Those are the people. People who cannot understand that let us differ politically and still belong to the same party and still be comrades and still be friends.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Nico Kaiyamo, thank you so much for sharing with us your insights and your life story. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Nico Kaiyamo, former parliamentarian there. Looking forward to getting back into active politics after his suspension was lifted by the Politburo of the SWAPO party. And that's all the time that we had for you tonight from Mika Dembire and the team. Until next time, bye-bye.
Wanted line into the